The other week, the local council was doing a hard rubbish collection. The street verges were littered with old wardrobes, mattresses, TVs, furniture and more. One of the items spotted was a box of old electronics magazines, mostly from the 1970s. Thanks to that, I'm able to bring you an old Dick Smith catalogue from 1974. That's older than the other catalogues that we've reviewed on other videos. The year of this catalogue is significant, for 1974 was to prove the most significant year in the Australian electronics industry, although possibly not for the right reasons. The year started with promise, with FM radio and colour TV being around the corner. However, a government decision to cut tariffs by 25% made our local industry much less competitive. That wasn't helped by surging wages and the high Australian dollar. And so, within a few years, the Australian electronics industry, at least that for the consumer market, shut down. Many of the brands you'll see in this catalogue didn't last many more years longer, or if they did, the items were imported with an Australian brand name. The innovation was that the catalogue was included in electronics magazines, meaning they were in the hands of almost every electronics enthusiast in Australia. Let's have a look through. This catalogue contained some of the last few Australian-made car radios, with the stations shown on the dial. Also from AWA is this model, with a smaller dial without the stations. That was to accommodate the 8-track cartridge player. The radio was AM only. FM radio in Australia did not start until after this catalogue. Where items were imported, they often had an Australian distributor. However, not for long. Only a few years later, Dick Smith was to say that his prices were cheaper because he cut out the middleman and direct imported products himself. That became easier with the rise of Japan, then Hong Kong, Singapore and Malaysia in electronics production. Vernier dial drives were always sought after by home brewers. The one you see here is actually one of their longest running products. You could still buy them from Dick Smith stores into the early 2000s. Here's something that would get you wondering: J-Car in a Dick Smith catalogue. For decades they were rivals, but before then Dick Smith sold knobs that were imported and distributed by J-Car. 40 years later, those styles of knobs can still be bought from J-Car stores. And here's the start of what would become the data section in the catalogue. Pinouts for various popular TTL ICs. The 723 and the 741 make an appearance. They're still available 40 years later. Looking at their transistors, you could still buy germanium transistors, although by then the switch to silicon was on. FETs like the MPF 102 had made an appearance, but some, like the OC44s and OC71s, were even by then replacement parts. But like cockroaches and 555 timers, some transistors refused to die. For instance, the 2N3053 and 2N3055 are still commonly used in circuits. Dick Smith was most associated with Yaesu Amateur Radio Gear. However, before they got their exclusive dealership, they also sold Kenwood and ICOM.